So, good morning. Today's daf yomi is Kesubos daf Tzadi Beis Kesubos 92. We're going to start on the bottom of Tzadi Aleph on the base on the bottom of 91b, 3 lines from the bottom. Amarami Barchama Reuven Shemachar Sado Shimon. So we're going through different cases. And in this case, Reuven sold a field to Shimon Shelo B'Achrayos. He's not guaranteeing it. He said, all bets are off. I'm selling you the field. If somebody else comes and claims it, they have a lien on it. I'm not guaranteeing anything to you. And also Shimon, and then Shimon comes along, Umachra. So then Shimon comes along, Umachra La Reuven B'Achrayos. And Shimon, don't ask why, but he comes along and he sells the same field back to Reuven, but Shimon guarantees it. Shimon says if somebody comes along and has a pre-existing claim on the field, I'll make good on it. V'asa, now we're on the top of our daf on Sadi Beis and Aleph. V'asa ba'chov de Reuven v'katar f'minei. And then who comes along? The creditor of Reuven's. Reuven's creditor. So Reuven sold the field to Shimon with no guarantees. Shimon sold it back to Reuven and guaranteed it. And now Reuven's creditor comes along, the Qatar Flaminate. And now this person, comes along and is making a claim on the field against the field that Shimon guaranteed, but is making a claim because he has a creditor against Reuven. So then Rami Barchama says, Dinahu the Azil Shimon Mafatzilei. So the law is that Shimon has to go and return the money to Reuven because he guaranteed it, even though it was Reuven's fault that the field is being seized. Rava does not accept this ruling of Rami Barchama. Yeah, it's true that Reuven accepted. It's true that Shimon accepted upon himself achrayos in general, a general guarantee, but all he did when he do that was he accepted. As Rashi says, Shimon only accepted all other creditors other than the creditors who were coming against Shimon. Achrayos did not the guarantees that were coming as a result of Shimon's mistake, that he wasn't guaranteeing. So if it was a creditor from as a result of Reuven's mistake, that Shimon was not guaranteeing. So therefore, Rava said that Shimon does not have to pay. Rava, but Rava himself would admit if the case is Reuven had inherited a field from Yaakov, and he sold that field to Shimon. He says, I'm not guaranteeing anything. We also Shimon Reuven, and Shimon comes along and sells that same field back to Reuven. Shimon comes along and sells that same field back to Reuven with a guarantee. And now a creditor of Yaakov is not exactly a creditor of Shimon. He's a creditor of Yaakov who bequeathed the field to, not exactly a creditor of Reuven, it's a creditor of Yaakov who had bequeathed the field to Reuven. Dina, who Rava would say, well, that in that case, the Azal Shimon Mfatzilimine. In that case, Shimon does have to pay Reuven. Nighttime, he says the creditor of Yaakov is like a creditor of everybody, and not like a creditor of Reuven. So Amar Rami Barchama, next case. Next case is Reuven Shemachar Sado Shimon Be'achrayos. Reuven sold a field to Shimon and he guaranteed it. V'zakafolav b'malva. And so Reuven sold a field to Shimon. He guaranteed it, but let's say the field was for $1 million. Shimon hasn't paid for the field yet. Instead, Shimon has turned that debt into a loan. And so he says that he owes Reuven $1 million. And so therefore, Reuven owes, and So Reuven sold the field to Shimon by guarantee v'zaka falav b'milva, and now it's a loan that Shimon owes Reuven. It's $1 million. Umeis Reuven, and now Reuven dies. So Reuven has died, and Shimon owed him $1 million. That's about chov de Reuven v'katar f'emi Shimon. And now Reuven's creditor comes and says that field that Reuven sold to you with a guarantee, which it's actually my field, and so therefore you have to give it to me. And then Shimon doesn't want to lose the field, so he doesn't want to lose the field to Reuven's creditor. Let's call him Levi. So instead of giving him the field, he gives him the money of the field. So he, instead of paying back Reuven's estate, he pays the creditor off. He pays the Levi off. So what happens next? Dinahu the Amrei b'nei Reuven. So guess what? The heirs of Reuven, the children of Reuven, can say, Anan mitaltoi shavak avun gabech, umitaltoi diasmi ubachov u'mishtavdei. They could say, listen, our father left you with a debt. You have a debt to our father, a metalton of money, cash. That's what you owed our father. And so metalton diasmi ubachov u'mishtavdei. But we don't owe that to the creditor because heirs, orphans, don't have to pay metalton. We only have to pay back the debts if they're real estate. So we didn't owe that $1 million to the creditor. So you still owe us the money. So that's what they're saying to the to Shimon. So Amar Rava says, but Ipikeach, if Shimon was smart and he wants to really protect himself, so what he would do under those circumstances, Shimon would give to the orphans the land on account of the debt that he owes to their father. And then after they have the land, he'll go and collect the land as a result of the guarantee that their father made to Shimon on the moment of the sale, that if somebody comes and will collect it from Shimon, Shimon will have to pay it back. And says, well, now you do have real estate because you got this real estate. And so therefore, that's how Rava says that Shimon will protect himself. And this is in accordance with the principle of Rav Nachman, that if heirs had collected money as a result of a debt of their father, a creditor can go and collect that money from the estate, even though it wasn't there at the time of the death. Amar Rabba. Next case. Says Rabba, Reuven shemachar kol sadosav with Shimon. Reuven, who sold all of his fields in one contract to Shimon. So he sold all his fields in one contract to Shimon. V'chazer Shimon machar sada achas levi. And then Shimon goes back and sells one of his fields to Levi. So Reuven sold all of his fields to Shimon, and Shimon took one of those fields and sold them to Levi. So when the Gemara says that Reuven sold all of his fields to Shimon, the understanding is that he sold three different classes of fields. He sold class A, class B, and class C. And so that's called Edis is the best, Beinonis is the middle, and Ziboris is the worst. And Rashi says what we're talking about here. Rashi says that he put them all into shtar echad, all into one contract. The b'shnei shtaros ein goven malvei elam kain lakach mishimon osa shalakach Reuven b'achrona. So let's see what the Gemara says. We'll go in and we'll understand the Rashi. So Rabba says so the case says Rabba Reuven shemachar kol sadosav l'Shimon, and then Shimon went back and sold one of these fields to Levi. He sold the average field to Levi. Also, achov de Ruvain, and now the creditor comes to Ruvain. The creditor of Ruvain comes to collect the field from Shimon, and we know that a creditor collects from the Beinonis, but Shimon has sold the Beinonis. That he can collect from whichever one he wants. The creditor of Ruvain can collect from the best property, from the class A, or he can collect from the class. He can collect from class A if he wants, or he can collect from the class C. He can collect from whichever one he wants. And the reason is because the creditor of Ruvain is making a claim to Shimon. He says, you purchased all the fields from Ruvain, and therefore you're in place of Ruvain, and therefore there's a debt on you. I have a debt against you. And so wherever I find Ruvain's real estate, I can collect it, and I don't need to bother the third party, i.e. Levi, who purchased the average property for you. Because when Levi purchased this field from you, he's basically allowing me to collect all the other fields that are remaining with you. And so therefore, since you don't have any longer a Beinonis field, I'm going to collect the Edis field, the best. And so therefore, since you only have now Edis and Ziboris, I can take the Edis. But let's say the creditor wants to collect from Levi the average field, Gova, he's able to collect it because the creditor could say to Levi, you purchased the field that I had a lien on. So that's what Rashi was saying. The Vishnei Shtaros en Govin mi Levi elam kain lakach mi Shimon osa shalachach mi Ruven b'achrona. That he's allowed to purchase. He's allowed to go and seize the field from either Shimon or Levi, since Levi bought the Beinonis field, or he could take the Edis field, or he could get the Edis field straight from Shimon as well. Velo Amran, and when do we say this law? Ela de Zavna Beinonis. We only say this law when Levi purchased from Shimon the Beinonis field, because then the creditor of Ruvain can go and collect from Levi, because he says, you purchased the main field that I wanted. Aval Zabna Edis Visiboris, but let's say Levi purchased from Shimon the best and the worst, and he left the Beinonis with Shimon, Matzi Amarle, then Levi could say to the creditor, you can't collect from me. I specifically bought the fields that you can't put a lien on them. And so therefore you can't touch the field that I bought from Shimon. Well, Beinonis Nami lo Amron Ela de lo Shavak Beinonis de Kavasa. And also, when do we say that you can grab the Beinonis field from Levi? When do we say that Reuben's creditor can grab the Beinonis field from Levi? Only in a circumstance where Levi didn't leave any Beinonis fields that were similar to it in Shimon's property. Aval on the top of Sadi Beis Amabez. But if he left with him Beinonis fields, then he can indeed say to him, listen, I left you. Levi could say to Reuven's creditors, I left you Beinonis fields by Shimon, go collect those. Leave me alone. Amar Abaye, Reuven Shemachar, so next case. Says Abaye, Reuven Shemachar, Sadal Shimon Be'achrayus. Reuven that sold a field to Shimon with a guarantee. But also Bachov de Reuven, and now Reuven's creditors are coming, the Qatar Flaminee, and they want the field from Shimon because they have nothing, they can't seize anything from Reuven. And Reuven wants to come and claim to his creditor, no, you can't seize that field because I already paid for it. Paid for it. And he says to him, I want you to take an oath that it wasn't paid. Or alternatively, Reuven is claiming that, no, I'm not saying I paid for it. I'm saying you have a different debt against me. So you can't go and seize this field from Shimon. Dina hu da azal Reuven u'lefatzilei. So we say that Reuven is allowed to go to the creditor with these claims, and the creditor can claim, I have nothing to do with you. I'm just trying to seize the field that you had sold to Shimon, Mishum the Amalei, because Reuven could say to the creditor, yeah, you're trying to take the field from Shimon. However, the mafkat minei alayadar, if you take the field from him, it's going to come right back to me. And so therefore, Reuven is allowed to say, I already see how this case is going to end up. I'm going straight to you and trying to stop it. So, v'ika de amri, alternatively, afilu shalobach nami. Some say, even if Reuven sold this field to Shimon with no guarantee, and so therefore Shimon can go back to Reuven if Reuven's creditor, let's say Levi, will take it from him. Nevertheless, Reuven will be allowed to go and to claim against the creditor. And Levi can't claim, well, this has nothing to do with you. Why? Because he could say, I don't want Shimon to have any complaints against me. So even though I didn't guarantee it, I see what's going on, that you're trying to seize this property by saying, I owed you money, and it's not true. I don't owe you money. And so therefore, Reuven is allowed to step in. So now we say, Amar Abaye, Reuven Shemachar Sadeh Shimon Shelo B'Achayos. Now we're going to have the case of the Asikin. So Reuven sold this field to Shimon, and he's not guaranteeing it. V'yatzu alav on the top of Tzadi Gimel Amud Aleph. V'yatzu alav Asikin. Rashi says the Asikin are Orin. People are raising issues about this field. And they're saying, this field does not belong to Reuven. It belongs to us. Reuven sold the field. That was ours. So again, what's the case? Reuven sold the field to Shimon with no guarantee. And then the Asikin arose. And the Asikin are saying, this land belongs to us. So Shimon doesn't want anything to do with this. So if Shimon does not done a proprietary act on the field yet, he's able to recant. Because he says, oh, these people are saying that they own the field, I don't want anything to do with it. But once the Shimon has done a proprietary act to acquire the field, he's not going to be able to renege on the deal. Rashi says, Shakarka nikna bechazaka. Because real estate is acquired through this proprietary act. Rashi says there's some property that's acquired immediately and you only pay the money later. And once you've done the proprietary act, that's where you owe the money, even though you've acquired it. But so once he's acquired it, then he can't renege on the deal. Why? Mishum the Amalei, because he says to him, Reuven, who sold the field to Shimon, meaning to say he can't claim that this was a mekach tos. He can't claim that I didn't want to buy a field which has orin on it. Why? Because Reuven could say to Shimon, Chayta dekatiri savris v'kabalas. It's like chayta is like a small sack, dekatiri, filled with knots. Savris v'kabalas. You accepted upon yourself this bag full of small knots, meaning to say, just like if somebody sells a bag full of knots and you think there's something in the bag, but you don't know what, you're basically saying, I'm accepting whatever's in the bag. That's what you did. You accepted whatever is part of the property. So the Gemara then asks the question, but at what point do we say he's acquired it? So the point that he's acquired it from the moment that he has arranged the borders. Dayesh HaMitzri, from the moment that he's arranged the borders, that's the moment where he has acquired it. Some say that even if he sold it to him with a guarantee, even if Reuben sold the field to Shimon with a guarantee, he cannot, that Shimon can't renege on the deal as a result of the Orim, and once he made a chazaka. And he can't then say, well, you know what, I don't want to pay you the money until we clear this up. Why? Because Reuben can say to Shimon, now that the Orin are coming after you, still have to pay the land, and then if they actually succeed in court and getting the property, then you'll show you'll show the contract that and Vashaimach. Then prove everything to me, and then I'll pay you. But until then, I don't have to pay anything. So this is the law of the Orin. Okay, we'll stop here. It's a shorter daf and very good because we were all a little. We need some more energy the day after Yom Kippur because we had a very, very long, intense, and beautiful day yesterday. And davening this morning is at 7:10. Big shkoyach to everyone.